So
right?
Welcome back.
Well, thank you, man. Jeez. Oh.
Wow. So we were talking about kind of the dynamics of corporations facilitating an entrepreneurial culture.
Yes.
And how you, when you were working at Verizon, you're just like, man, I wish there was a place for me to just like share all my ideas, have them heard, and even like collaborate with people and like build on them.
Yeah.
So obviously, because Verizon didn't do that, you're no longer there, and now you're working on your full thing. So tell me more about, obviously, entrepreneurship is all about 0 to 1. How do you get the product market fit the fastest? You have, I think a good condensed view base of what product market fit is. But tell me, as you're trying to get to that point, what are the biggest gaps you have now? And what would be most supportive to those gaps?
To those founders, right? To those gaps in those founders. So I would say that when you're just starting out and you're like creating that base, as we were talking about, a lot of the companies that have shot up overnight or shot up over a course of period of time, and then they cradle, it's because they really weren't the foundation in itself like anything else when you're building a building, right? When you're creating it, when you want to create something new. I think that some of the things that a part of my base now that are going to continue to move forward because the hiring happened organically, because the product is actually endeared to us as humans, and it's not another social network. I think that some of the things that like us as founders really need are, from not just corporations or other founders, it's about having that middle line between support, like what support is, like what is actual support to an individual that goes against everything biologically you've ever wanted to do, right? So as humans, as we know, we're all looking for stability, we're all looking to reproduce. That's us as creatures, right? That's what we seek out to do. A true entrepreneur does not seek those things all the time, right? They're on the radar, but it's not something that drives them. Driving them is putting their particular social construct with the way that they've seen the world, and I want to not just see the world this way, but this is the world in which I want to live. So I think having something that's supportive to that and to those values of every entrepreneur is the Allah. Now, say if it's, whether it's them finding a partner that can support that, or is it an institution that can help maybe fund or maybe even add on employees in their company to work with them because they see that they're doing something very innovative. Is that, so if you think about it that way, not just us as a company, but any particular founders, in the beginning stages, 5, 10 employees, they have another company saying, hey, look, hey, we got an employee here that's actually, part of our lab, and they are interested in what you guys are doing. Can we do like a partnership to where we can give you guys employees, they can work, similar to what you'll see like in internships, right? Where people as students don't know what they want to do. And a lot of people have came to me, like whether they're in college or they're interning, they're like, well, bro, I don't know, the job market's going to be crazy. I have no idea what's going on, but then I have all this buzz about entrepreneurs. Should I be one? Should I not be one? All these people making money over time. It's stressful. I think now, more so than ever, being a Gen Zer is more stressful than ever. And me being a millennial, when I was younger, I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't have to deal with YouTube and Instagram and all these other things and people just blowing up overnight because they were on Twitch or all this other stuff. So I think, having people that are supportive, like it even goes back to what we were talking about before, having people that were supportive, right? It's always funding, no matter what. I always say, always be recruiting. That's another thing. Always be closing, but always be recruiting, right? And that happens in different ways. Of recruiting, hey, how you doing? Filling you out. Oh, okay, you like doing that? Cool. How do you see the world? Okay, cool. I'll talk to you later. Talk away and follow back up, send emails. Hey, I saw you do this on LinkedIn. That was cool. All those things are creating that loop between your team, and people know that your team is getting strong when your product is getting stronger and your product is getting more ironed out. So I think I would say at this particular point, it's always recruiting, always finding individuals that are not just saying, hey, I need $1 from you or I need money from you, but it's like, hey, this is cool, we got time, you're a cool individual, and I view the world in which you view the same. And then both of you guys coming together and say, are 5 of you coming together, or a corporation saying, hey, we understand what you guys are doing and we see that what you guys are doing. The way that works in the universe doesn't always come out as simple as the way I explained it, and can be tragedy for some people.
Yeah. Okay, so you talk about this is what you need when you have like 5 to 10 team members. Let's actually go back to when you were just doing this on your own.
Oh, wow.
Right? So like when you were just like, this is just one man show, I got this idea, vision, I want to bring it out in the world. No one else really knows about it.
Wow.
I have so much I want to learn. What would have helped you in that moment get to where you are today? And sure, you might be able to say like, yeah, all these things happened to me, but if you could go back, maybe relive these past whatever year or two.
Wow.
What tool do you wish you would have had when you were literally just starting out, just by yourself?
Honestly, I'm building it. Between me and you, you know that.
Yep.
You know what I'm building, and I think that would have helped, of course. But I also think that nothing. I don't, and that's, and that I think that is, not because of my background or because of the way that I see the world, but I think that I say that because there's nothing that can help you other than you. You're not applying for a job to where you can ask a friend to the secret or the cheat sheet to the Google job that you want to apply for. That's not the way life works when you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to put something out there. You have to iterate consistently over time, and you fall into luck, right? So and just being honest with you, I mean, we went over this I think earlier in our talk, we talked about what corporations could have helped with and that view, but honestly, if that help would have came, I probably wouldn't be speaking to you, just being honest. My idea might have not been flushed out or vetted the way that it was, and research and consistency and product market fit. Those things might have not happened because whenever an individual pays you, and there's different ways that people say this, anytime an individual pays you, you immediately become their slave. And that might be a little extreme, right? But when you have an employee-corporation relationship, you already know the Pareto distribution, right? So in corporations, they already know 20% of people do actual work. 80% of people just show up, right? That has not changed in the past hundreds of years, right? So I think that, from an honesty standpoint, other than what we talked about within the corporations, what internally, outernally that could happen cohesively, for myself personally, in order for me to get here to this particular idea ironed out with my particular team now, nothing would have helped me. I had to figure that out on my own.
Great. So let's double click on that. You said you had to constantly iterate.
I love that. Double click on that. That was good. You just...
I would say like you can steal it, but I mean...
No, I won't take it.
Yeah.
I won't take it. I won't take that.
Okay, appreciate it. So let's double click on that. So you said that you had to constantly iterate to learn, right? That's ultimately what iterating is for, to learn.
Yeah, failing, learning.
Yeah. So, this is kind of too full a question. Tell me, what helped you iterate, fail over and over and over again, and what do you think would have helped you do that even more?
Wow. And it's funny you say this. So, I told people, and I consistently will tell people, if as soon as I got to Silicon Valley, if we would have got a check right away, I wouldn't be talking to you. If someone would have said, hey, 25 grand, take it. That's a great idea, do it. We would not have what is supposed to be out in the world, I think, now. So it can't be money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, okay, was it a team? Hey, as soon as I got here, I was like, who else can I kind of put around me? Who else can I share this with or start developing conversations with? And I think my particular journey was interesting because as soon as I got here, I was here because of individuals that helped me, friends that said, hey, I have an office here. You can help doing this, and you do this and work here. And so I had a lot of things that happened in the universe before I got here that were put in place to then help push me. So I would say that I got that. I got an office. I had creative people around me. They weren't a part of my team. They were just people that allowed me to say, hey, because, in not even just in New York, but just your mentality, before you start pruning back the preconceived notions of the way that you see the world, I had individuals that were like, no, that can be coded this way, or no, actually that can happen. We know that can happen because we have people that have done it. When you hear things like that, it immediately undresses the way that you think you see the world. And as soon as that happens, you'll start to accelerate yourself faster than you ever thought you could. And in my particular situation, those things started to align themselves before I was even here. And then when I got here, it was like, hey, look, friends that I've had that are near and dear to me, when I first touch down, they will always be friends. And they get any phone call, and that's just how I am. Because they allowed looking back now, they allowed those dots to be connected, because I wouldn't be around, I wouldn't even have been able to put out this thing to the world unless you had help. So as soon as I got here from New York, I was like, okay, team, right? I had space in order to stay. Team, well, okay, what's going on? Who else can I tell? Who else can I share the world? So last year, I can probably say I went to about 100 different networking events. Yes, 100 different networking events. And the 100 networking events allowed me to find my co-founder. But those things wouldn't have happened if I didn't have an idea. Networking events, I went there, I'm literally filming Andrew Ning, who's the Allah of machine learning, and my co-founder sits down and starts filming him too, and I'm like, hey, what are you talking, what are you here filming him? I'm filming him, Started talking, and a couple weeks later, he's on my team. That started a trickle effect, but even before that, it was me being here, right? Me being a part of the narrative of, I'm in Silicon Valley, and it's funny, co-founder's not even from here. He's from Chicago, so he flew in. So that even makes it more somewhat of a divine type of way of thinking, right? That's there's something higher than me and this, whether it's genetics or society or the biosphere, there's something higher happening. There's something that has been connected before I've even gotten here that I'm supposed to be. So, hopefully that answers, that's part of,
Yeah. So if we go deeper into, obviously that's how you met people, you just put yourself out there, talked about what you want to do. When it comes to actually making progress on your idea and running these experiments to see, does this work, does this fit, is it A, is it B?
Yeah, A/B testing.
Yeah, how did you, tell me about that experimentation cycle. How did you go about managing all that learning?
Yeah, so it was pretty intense. So I've been a research scientist for 3.5 years. I love studying the brain, and I'm infatuated, right? And when you like studying something that people deem to be so complex to the point where it can't even be talked about, the conversation changes, right? So it's more so about, hey, I want to learn about you and help you, than, oh, I feel like I'm so smart. I don't care. I think that I came here with the ability to understand how humble I need to be in order to progress in life. Some people are so egotistical about the way that they see the world, or their knowledge, or their intelligence, or whatever, to the fact that they hinder themselves to being open to other people. And people immediately shut off. They immediately shut off, right? And that's something that's just what society has deemed as, oh, I gotta stay away from this person because he just thinks he's bigger than everybody else. I just wanted to come here and smile and tell people I'm interested in this, and this is what I'm interested in. This is a particular idea I have. And when people said, oh, wow, that's interesting, I know a person, that was Silicon Valley. Oh, I know a person, I can do this, I can connect you here, I can connect, hey, this person here does this, how about you do this? That wildfire effect was the environment. So there's, and I talk about books a lot. There's the Law of Environment done by John Maxwell, I believe, Law of Irrefutable, Law of Irrefutable Leadership, I believe it's called. And he speaks about the law of environment, that there always comes a point in time in your environment in which you feel like you need to get out, and you just break free, right? And as soon as I got here, when I was speaking to different people, and because of things like Starting Block, right, where we met, where they teach you to say, hey, it's about giving, right? It's about giving, give, continue to give. Keeping that in the back of my hippocampus and like thinking, oh wow, should I just continue to be a strategic giver, right? Then you read books like, Adam Grant and Give and Take, and those things are conducive to the life you want. But if I was not open, or if I felt like I wasn't that type of person, I wouldn't read those books, or I wouldn't go to those particular organizations. But I did, and when I got here, it prepared me to say, hey, look, I'm doing this, but what do you need help with? Became wildfire. Oh, you know an individual? Yeah, I do. I mean, I'll put you an email. And it was like one thing after another. And I think as I started to do that, then other layers, and I say this a lot, it's like compound interest. The things that happened last year are now molding over into here. And it's happening faster because of the rate and speed and the commitment that I put in. So compound interest will go up. And if you're working at a job, you're an entrepreneur, it might not be 90% back on your return. It could be 5% back or 20% back. So, for the people that are working in the companies, it's not anything on them. It's just the fact that your interest on your return is going to be less than an individual that is an entrepreneur. If I'm here committed, saying I'm done with everything and I got 90%, on my return on interest, so that means every single meeting I'm meeting someone that I'm continually putting time into, it's inevitable. Inevitable. So, I mean, that's kind of the way that I would like to answer that question. I mean, I think that it's and hopefully I did answer it, right?
Yeah,
kind of. Okay.
I'd love to hear more about like when you manage the learning, like from experiments, right?
Okay.
Like,
So
more on a tactical level, like
okay.
when you're trying to understand.
So you're talking about my business, like how are you talking about the actual business and actually?
Yeah, but more so the process of managing the learning of like the. Okay, like I see the vision, but obviously the product's not there yet.
Yeah.
So how can we constantly learn to move the product in the right path to get to that vision?
Yeah.
How do you manage that learning process?
Yeah.
I mean, so for example, like a lot of people out there, maybe they're not as confident. Maybe they're like founders that like have this great idea. Maybe they're not as willing to put themselves out there. Maybe they're not as connected.
Just to say that. There's a difference between an entrepreneur and an inventor. An inventor stays in the corner and turns around and just invents things and doesn't put it out to the world. If you don't want to share your stuff, work for a company. So just off that mark, they don't need to be an entrepreneur. Because if you're not showing or sharing your idea, you've already started out wrong. You've already started out doing the wrong things. So to answer that question, I mean, that's it. Like, it's either are you an inventor? Yeah, there's that stack of entrepreneur, or entrepreneur. And then there's an inventor. Now, the inventor, they have patents. I mean, there's constructs that can help you succeed in life with that. But with this, if you want to do this, you have to be willing to not only share it, but also articulate it in a way in which that everyone else wants to jump on board, right? That's just what you do. And if you can't, so I'll tell you, the way that I learned that was, and we talked about this. I mean, my father was an entrepreneur, right? So it's in my blood. It's part of my DNA. Everyone has the same, DNA sequence, right? We know that. It's only 4 letters. For anyone else who doesn't understand, it's only 4 letters. It doesn't matter. Black, white, doesn't matter. We all have the same exact DNA. But more on a more on a side of tying in biology. It's in my blood. So there's something in me that's going to happen subconsciously, regardless of which route that I take. And for other people, I would say share it. Even if you're an introvert, even if you think that there's something wrong with it, I would say words become flesh, right? Like a cube, right? All of this is primitive. Everything is nothing. But if I say something, it just adds on layers, and one layer after another. If someone else says that's not that good, it then shapes it off. Doesn't necessarily kill the idea, but it shapes it. I say something else drops down. I tell another person, he says something, it drops here. And then I'm like, he's like, okay. But I never see him again. He leaves, right? And someone else comes and, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And then you're like, oh, really? This way? They say something, they add. It's all a part of the thing you want to create. And if you're too nervous to come out and say